Okay, so I am with Michelle Danner, the director of Miranda's Victim. 2 hours and 7 minutes. Every single minute for me worked. Love this film so much. So, Michelle, pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Michelle, just looking over at your bio and your experiences in life, acting is a huge part, to say the least, of your life as far as acting schools, being an acting coach. Where did the acting and directing path cross? How did that thing intersect? Or was it a lot less complicated than I'm thinking in my mind?
No, I think there was one little step in between. So I did start to act when I was very young. Um, I started first in France. I grew up in Paris. And then I moved to New York where I studied with Stella Adler and with Uta Hagen and Herbert Bergdorf, some wonderful teachers. And then I started to teach acting because I had studied so much and I had gotten it from so many places. Um, and I wanted to pass it down. And so people asked me to coach them, and that started to become like a full-time thing, where I had to decide between driving to Hollywood, to Pasadena to do auditions, or to coach like 10 people that wanted coachings. So I did that. And then, I'm just, whether you're an actress, a writer, director, you're just passionate about storytelling. So I wanted to tell stories. And then I realized, oh, because some people had cast me in their movies. And I was like, well, I want to sign the painting. I want to be able to pick the textures and the canvas and the colors. I want to be able to be the one to assemble it and put it together. So everything was a bit of a stepping stone, to the next art form.
That's amazing. You talk about the canvas and the textures and the art form. Miranda's Victim, I really love the look and the cinematography of it. Can you just talk about collaborating with your DP and getting sort of that rich texture behind your film? Because I love movies set in throughout the 60s, and I love the fact that it actually feels like it. Talk about that visual texture you added with your DP.
So I did a lot of research. I watched, as you might imagine, tons of courtroom movies, and I did a lot of period pieces. And every time I saw a shot that was interesting or a color palette that I wanted, I would, record it and send it over to Pierluigi Malavacci. Gigi is his nickname. We had collaborated before that on another movie called The Runner, and he's a wonderful DP. And he's like, "Got it. I'm gonna watch it," or "I've seen it." And so we prepared that way. And of course, we worked on a shot list and, we had a shorthand because we worked together before. So that was good. And he knows what I like. He knows I like the push-ins. I like the flow. And recently, we're in Catalina Island where we got a lot of awards. And I watched it at the Avalon Theater, the historical Avalon Theater, first theater with sound. And I felt, I texted him afterwards. I said, Gigi, you did good because you captured what I wanted, which was a certain flow. There was a flow. And of course, he helped very much to tell a story that set place in that world in the 60s, along with my production designer and my costume designer and makeup and hair. It's a whole team, and you share with them. I had sent an email out and followed it up with meetings talking about the color palette so everybody would be on the same page and it would all have that look. And then the big decision was to shoot it on film. And I thought to myself, which is, more complicated, and they tried to dissuade my son tried to dissuade me. He goes to, dramatic arts and cinematic arts school at USC. And he's like, you're not the director for that. And I said, I shot my first movie on film, because I like to do a lot of takes. And of course, when you shoot film, you have to be more economical. But it worked out. I was economical. I rehearsed. I knew what I wanted. I was well prepared. And the film also adds to the look that you're talking about, the texture of it.
Oh my God. In defense of your son, because today everything's on digital. So in a way, he had a good point, but what just kept you fighting for film? Because there's very few people could have made your job so much easier. You could have still told the great story, but you just really wanted to go that extra mile, right? No matter what.
I wanted to go the extra mile. You really said it just now really well. With everything, with every aspect of this movie, I wanted to go the extra mile. And I wanted to fight for film because, I got very lucky here. Just, I really got to cast who I wanted to cast. I had carte blanche with the casting. I got to everything, the look of the movie, the editing, I had final cut. I really got a chance to tell the story that I wanted to tell. Right till the end, there was this big thing where there was some pushback about ending the movie when she comes out of the courthouse. But that wasn't the full story because I wanted to tell the full story, which is, karma is a bitch. I wanted to go full circle and talk about there is karmic justice in this thing about him getting his finger chopped off by a guard that happened. All of that is true. And I wanted to tell that part of it. I wanted to talk about karmic justice as well.
You know, I was so amazed by your cast, and this movie reminds me of a throwback to the 60s when like Sidney Lumet and John Frankenheimer had just great casts in courtroom dramas and whatnot. Just how how hard was it getting this A-list cast for your film? Because just all of the roles, even the newcomer, the one who plays Miranda, he's fantastic. Is it Quinn? What is his name? He's
Sebastian,
yeah,
Sebastian Quinn.
yeah, he's fantastic. So what was the journey in just getting all of the pieces you wanted, all of the actors you wanted in your cast?
Well, some of it fell into place easily, and some of it did not. You know, the first domino that fell into place was that Donald Sutherland said yes, and the moment that happened, I mean, I was so ecstatic because he was one of my favorite. He is one of my very favorite actors, and he reminded me always of my father. At that point, I felt, there's a bit of an angel looking over here. And then Enrique Murciano, who was a student of mine, I was his very first acting teacher, plays Detective Cooley so incredibly well. And he it was booked on a show in Vancouver. And I said, every time I call you to be in my movie, except for the first movie, I cast him in my first movie, How to Go Out on a Date in Queens, you're always busy. So he's like, okay, let me see if they're going to kill me off so I can come do this thing with you. And he did. They killed him off and he came. And it was great. He told Andy Garcia, and Andy Garcia spoke to me, and said yes. And Abigail Breslin, and I sent it to her literally one day. The next day, we were getting together and having coffee and looked into each other's eyes and said, we're doing this together. Little by little, a lot of these actors were my first choice. Josh Bowman, who plays Charles, her husband, Mireille Enos, Brent Sexton, first offered, sent out to him. He said yes. Nolan Gold, a lot of people were like first choices. So, it's great. I was just really, and everything for everybody that said no, it's because something better was around the corner. And you have to trust that when you cast, because sometimes can get really bummed out. And I know a lot of filmmakers do, because you have visualized that person playing it and you're so excited and it's going to happen. And then they say no. And
Yeah.
you just feel so depleted. But and of course, you can't know it in the moment, but you have to trust that there is just not meant to be and something else is meant to be that's going to work.
No, even from the outsider's point of view, one would say, oh, even quote unquote secondary supporting roles are filled with just such great actors like Emily VanCamp. I mean, you could have cast anyone, but she's great in the role. And Taryn Manning, she's fantastic. So I think, were you surprised at just every single role that you were able to really fit into your narrative, that everything was pretty much perfect, in my opinion?
Thank you. I wasn't surprised because it was really part of my vision. And like I said, I got to cast who I wanted to cast, and I got to make the movie I wanted to make. Sebastian Quinn, that was my part of my idea, was I wanted someone that was not recognizable in other parts. And he's fairly, new. He hasn't done as much as the other actors that we cast. But the other actors, I felt needed to be that recognizable because they're playing historical characters with gravitas, like Kyle MacLachlan. Even Dan Lauria, who to me is iconic. I've seen him on Broadway and in the Wonder Years and many other things. Um, but yeah, I mean, Sebastian, I thought, and I didn't realize after I wanted him to do it, I was like, oh, he bears a very strong resemblance to Ernesto Miranda. I was like, but it's not why I cast him. It was an afterthought. I cast him because I thought he was a good actor and he was, right for the part. He had the right, feel to play him.
You know,
And he was brave because, he's playing a villain. But actors, but the thing is this, when actors work a lot, they love to play villains, right? Because villains are fun. But if it's one of the first big things off the gate, it's really brave to accept to play a villain.
Obviously you're the director in this film, but I'm sure the acting part of you must feel so gratified with just, working with Enrique again. And also you see someone like Sebastian Quinn and you're probably thinking to yourself, he's so magnetic, and you're excited to see he has that just magnetism, and you know how far he's going to go. But then you also get to work with someone like Andy Garcia, who is just a thespian who really, you believe every single role he does because he feels like he lives the part. Was it a great thing to just work with so many different actors on that kind of spectrum throughout this journey, this film?
Yes, to be on set with, Donald Sutherland and Andy Garcia and, Kyle MacLachlan, I mean, Ryan Philippe, Luke Wilson, this cast is just unbelievable. Um, it did warm my heart. I was definitely, and we had conversations and, because I've worked in the past with, well-known people, I didn't have butterflies, but close to it sometimes in my stomach.
You Michelle, we want movies to be entertaining, and also we can pass our time, we can actually transport ourselves. But is a big part of Miranda's Victim the reason why you wanted to direct it was because it's also, along with being cinematic, it's very value added and educational. The fact that people will not just enjoy your film, but they can tell their family members or their loved ones or their friends about the historical basis of what your film is portraying. That must mean a lot to you personally as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I felt there was a gap in our history because the story hadn't been told. Uh, and so it is educational. The last movie I directed, The Runner, the first scene is you have the right to remain silent, you have the right to, attorney. I never questioned where did that come from. But so I felt that it really filled a gap to tell this completely untold story. That was definitely thrilling. And I also wanted to make it compelling and entertaining because, art, I think, needs to be entertaining. I wanted to keep people, guessing and trying to figure it out. And, it I really wanted to tell this story. And I don't think that I exactly knew why. I just knew that I had it in me that wanted to, aside from the fact that I love the crime mystery genre. My sisters has always made fun of me because of all the Daylines and 48 Hours that I watch and all those shows. But
How do you have time? You're so busy directing and working with other actors.
I watch a lot, you'd be surprised. But I have little dance cards with my two kids and with my sister. So with one kid, I watch this. With my other kid, I watch that. I have and then I have my own personal thing that nobody wants to watch with me, which is the Datelines. I have, I watch a lot. I have to. I mean, it's part of my thing is to watch a lot of content. But I found out after I finished the movie that somebody very, very close to me went through a sexual assault, and and I said, wow, that must be the reason why I so much wanted to tell this. And this person very close to me had kept it a secret and never talked about it, and did very much what the mother, played beautifully by Mireille Enos, did in the movie, which is don't be defined by it, sweep it under the carpet, move on. People are not going to believe you, the realities of that time. And so yeah, I think that I have a very personal connection to this story.
So I found a couple of questions is just in layman's terms, what's the most important aspect from your POV on being a successful director, and then on the flip side also being a successful collaborator, especially when things, when people have different viewpoints as well. What's the key to both those elements, successful filmmaker and a successful collaborator, in your point?
I think that you have to be knowledgeable because everybody comes to you with a lot of questions and you have to answer them quickly. That's why they say that it's a lonely job. At some point it is. I'm surrounded by a lot of loved ones. My son is going to direct a lot of movies and he was by my side. And I have my producers that have worked with me for, decades who were there. So I am surrounded by support and love and knowledge. But at the end of the day, the buck ends with you. So you must have that knowledge and you need to answer quickly. And then you have to keep inspiring people to do the best that they can. Um, so that answers the first question. What was the second question?
Oh, just, it's, yeah, I think you answered it
I
being
think you
a,
have to listen. You have to listen, and be collaborative. I'm actually very it. If you can have a strong vision of what you want to do and yet listen and be collaborative, I think those are good ingredients.
And final question, just right off the top of your head, I know this is a very impossible question. Can you name one of your all-time favorite films? And what is it specifically about this film that continues to inspire you today?
Um, I love the movie Heat with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, Michael Mann, which I'm very excited to see Ferrari, obviously. Uh, there's just something about it. I don't know if it's two iconic actors, and when they sit down face to face in that coffee shop and they look at each other, and he goes, you got to walk away in 15 seconds. That's the discipline. And one guy, and Al Pacino says to him, I'm gonna get you. I'm not gonna, I just I love that scene. I love those two actors. I love that movie. It's a wonderful movie. I have obviously a lot of favorite movies and a lot of favorite filmmakers, but if you ask me and without thinking, this is what came up.
And as you're leaving, what kind of mom are you going to be with your son when he becomes with directing his own films? Are you going to be hands off, or are you going to playfully suggest here and there, or is it basically he's the buck stops with him and you're going to let him do his own thing?
Well, I'm not going to be hands off because I'm going to produce his movies. Um, I'm going to be there for whatever he needs me for. He's very opinionated, my son, and he has very strong vision. He's already directed some shorts and have won. He's already felt the taste of winning some awards on the festival circuit, and he's got some great ideas, and he's doing some fantastic things. But I'll be there to support him. It's going to be hard when he has something in his head because his vision is so strong. He's going to do his vision like no one's going to change his mind, and he's going to learn. If it works, it doesn't work. I'm going to let him fall on his face and learn or succeed, both. But I will be there to support him and help him. There's so many moving pieces to make a movie. Um, and I feel that, with all the experience that I have, I can help him in that way.
And as you're leaving, what's it like just traveling the world for Miranda's Victim through all these different
Uh,
festivals and then winning awards and having just people from all over the world see it? That must be a big deal for you.
It's been great in Catalina, where the Avalon Theater was historical theater in Catalina Island, the first theater with sound. There were a lot of people there. I didn't think I was going to win at all. As a matter of fact, my sister was with me and she turned off her cell phone because she didn't think I was going to win either. My son turned to me and he goes, "You're going to win." And I'm like, "I'm not. We might win for best movie." I said, "But I'm not going to win for best director because I had won 2 years back." And I thought to myself, there's just no way. And we won Best Director, Best Actress, Abigail Breslin, Best Movie, like we swept it all. And my sister couldn't turn her cell phone off to tape it. But it feels good to win. And if you lose, it's okay too. You have to be able to lose. And another pivotal moment so far has been last week. We had the East Coast premiere with the real Patricia Weir, who's alive, who's seen the movie, who loves it, who has a cameo in the movie. She's in the wedding scene. She comes out, and Josh Bowman Charles turns over and kisses her on the cheek. That's the real Patricia Weir. She's very brave, and I came out with her, and 700 people rose and gave a standing ovation. And that, I have to say, that really moved me.
Wow, that's amazing. Michelle, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank,
Congratulations on Miranda's Victim. Really love the film.
thank you. I'm so happy. Thank you.